Hello, everybody. It's Jim Klauck here on the Beach Money Podcast. Jordan Adler, thank you so much for allowing me to host your podcast. Gail Zientek is joining me today on the program. We'll get right into it. Gail, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jim. Thanks for having me here today. And thank you, Jordan, for reaching out and saying, Gail, I'd love to have you on the podcast. So here we are.
I know you won't disappoint the audience because Jordan never disappoints when he brings someone forth to be interviewed by me on his podcast, the Beach Money Podcast. I want to hear all about your story, and so do so many people. How far back do you want to start? I'll let you start where you want as far as your story. And of course, life has gotten better because you've told me that you're really able to do things today that you weren't able to do decades ago. And I'm paraphrasing, but you're kind of living your dream now, right? You're doing what
That's
you want to
correct.
do. Traveling the world, traveling the country for sure, in an RV, playing pickleball and, enjoying yourself. But why don't you go back to where you want to start your story, and then we'll progress forward.
Okay. Well, I like to go back to the beginning I think it's an inspiration to others who may think that when you don't go to college or you get married young, that you can't have life.
Mm.
And my husband and I met my senior year of high school. We got married. I was a senior in high school. I got married on April 15th, 1978. Turned 18 on April 4th, had a baby in October. And in the next 3 years were a whirlwind. We had 3 children in 3 years. We were very young. But we were always entrepreneurial, even back in the early 80s in network marketing. So that's kind of where we started, raised the family, have 2 sons and a daughter. Stayed at home for 25 years watching other people's children because I wasn't educated. I had 3 kids right away and I couldn't go out and make money in a real job, so to speak. I was a real job at home with being a mom. And then at the age of 44, I began my real estate career. And my husband thought I'd be good as real estate. I always said I nurtured 2-year-olds. So real estate was just a lot about, now we're nurturing other people, our buyers and sellers, and just building relationships along the way. So, the second career has been amazing. I'm now retired.
Mm.
And like you say, traveling the world and spending time with our 12 grandchildren.
That sounds exciting. So, you are now able to do things you felt you couldn't do decades earlier. Do you find it a harsh contrast? Was it hard to go from go, raising kids, having a career in real estate to really at a young age, slowing down and being able to do things still? Because it's not as if you're like 90 years old where, some people, when they retire, they sit in the lazy boy all day watching Jeopardy. That's what my grandparents did. So was that a hard transition?
No, as a matter of fact, I feel kind of bad for our youngest son, Jordan, because when he entered college, I was just 40 years old. And it was the year 2000. And I was like, yes, I'm an empty nester. No more responsibility. But, that wasn't true. I still had responsibility. And life can hand you some things and you just go for it. But then, for us to transition, I think I had focused my whole life on my family. As a 18-year-old woman having a child, to being 21 with 3 children, to being a mom and a wife, and really not getting to know who I really was as a human, because my life was handed to me. And so for me, it was kind of exploring after our children went off to college, and kind of Steve and I getting to know who we are without the children, and then who I am as an individual person. So it's just been a fun journey.
I didn't expect to go down this road, but I can't help because you've kind of put it up there for me to hit. And that is, as a woman, a young woman, a lot was happening to you because you decided to get married. You had 3 children young, and you couldn't have a career at that time. If you did, someone would have had to take care of the children. And even so, you were so young. So you were kind of thrown into this, as you said. It was handed to you. And so it sounded like it was one of those old fashioned families, right? Where, I guess dad worked, mom was at home raising the kids, but you've had a second life now. Because you were young and you got it kind of out of the way, and you're still young to pursue things. Did I get that right?
Yes. And, meeting Jordan back in, he's been a very strong influence for me in the last 17 years. So got into real estate, 3 years into my real estate career, because I never thought I could learn until I went and took the class. I always tell people in 72 hours, I went from a stay-at-home mom to a realtor. And that is the exact truth. I took a class, 40 hours, studied all weekend, Monday took a test, and I passed, and now I'm off to a new career. And that gave me confidence to know that I could still do math. I could still learn, because it's been a long time since I graduated from high school. And so, real estate gave me confidence back. And my husband and I, 2 years into my real estate journey, he quit his job and joined me in real estate. And so, for the last 20 years, we've been together doing that. But I can remember, receiving a card in the mail, on an unexpected card. And it literally, Jim, changed my life, because I've been looking for a way to connect with my clients. I grew up, I became professional. Now I knew it was important to stay in touch with people, but I really didn't know how. And I remember asking all my colleagues, what do you use to stay in touch? And it wasn't until I received a card in the mail from a guy I met at a networking event the week before that I went, wow, this is really special. I actually still have that card. It's been 17 and a half years. I still have that card to this day. And I save it because that card literally changed my life. I believe that meeting send out cards and then meeting the people that were high level influencers in send out cards, Cody Bateman, Jordan Adler, have taught me over the years just how important it is to just be authentically yourself, and reaching out in kindness to others. So with that, like I say, Jordan's just been a mentor of mine and a true friend. And I just appreciate the consistency that he has shared over the last 17 years of, being the high level person Jordan is.
I've known Jordan for some time, almost as long as you have, I believe. And he is a great guy. He has an interesting story. I mean, it took him a long time really to become successful in a business. And I think that's all part of life, right? When we're young, we start somewhere, then we graduate, we learn, and we keep building our foundation. And then something finally blossomed for him in the network marketing world. And he is in a great position to bless others. It's really that simple. He's in a great position to bless others. And I see he's done that with you. It's really a consistent story I hear on the podcast.
I'm just writing down, something came to my mind because you said that I'm living my second life. I'm actually living my third life.
Oh,
when you think about, because I'm thinking about my first life was, 0 to 18. My second life was 18 to 40. Third life, 40 to 60. And, I'm 64 years of age right now. And Like, I feel like I'm in my fourth life. Like,
Hmm.
you know, now what I have, I've done things in my life that has set myself up for this fourth life to be spectacular.
Hmm.
And part of that was building a business alongside with Jordan over the last 17 years. Part of that was, even though we were young and dumb, from I'm going to say 0 to 50, um, we got with a financial advisor about 10 years ago.
Hmm.
So, with the residual income that comes in, with the ability to invest with a financial advisor to help us make plans for this fourth season of life,
Sure.
I just feel like it's set us up for success. And if I can encourage you, because I've talked to several people recently, Jim, that are in their late 40s, early 50s, and a lot of them are real estate agents, and they have not planned for retirement. And in that not planning for retirement, I encourage them, find somebody that you can trust to help you invest. Find different sources of income with things that you enjoy doing.
Hmm.
There's so many opportunities out there right now. And, promptings is one of them. Send out cards is one of them that I've enjoyed. There are so many. Please find something that creates your own beach money, because you don't think about it. I was not thinking about retirement when I was 45 entering into real estate, or at 55. And I heard one young realtor say just recently, and she just turned 50. She says, "I'm going to be selling houses till I'm 90." I said, "Do you really want to?" I mean, you say that at 50, and I've seen people in their 70s selling homes. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to make that decision if that's what we want to do or don't want to do in our mid 60s. So I'm speaking to the generation out there that don't think they have maybe not have planned, and they don't think they have time. If you're in that third season of life between 40 and 60, now is your time to really shine and do things to set yourself up for success, so that when you're 60 and beyond, you can have your beach money, you can have the lifestyle.
Hmm.
One of the things that I dreamt about 10 years ago was taking our grandchildren on special trips, Jim. And we have 12. We have 3 bonus grandchildren now, 9 natural and 3 bonus ones that we absolutely adore. And we've started these trips when they're 14, 15 years of age. We let them choose where they want to go. And our oldest granddaughter is 22, McKenna, graduated from college, just bought her first condo. Really proud of that girl. She was our first trip. Second trip, Zoe. Zoe just turned 19 2 days ago. She's going to the University of Michigan. We went to Washington, D.C. and Orlando. And upcoming October of this year is Lily's turn. And Lily is special in a way. I was just thinking, because my very first really getting to spend time with Jordan is 16 years ago.
Yep.
I bought, for everybody that bought Beach Money books, went into a drawing to be able to go to Venice Beach, California, and spend a weekend with Jordan. And that Lily's the only grandchild that I was not there when she was born. Lily was born while I was in Venice with Jordan Adler. And she's going to meet Jordan actually on this trip we're taking in October. We're going to Zion National Park. We're going to the Grand Canyon, taking helicopter rides to the Grand Canyon, and spending a little bit of time in Vegas. And Jordan may be available. And I thought, wow, it's come full circle. Life
Hmm.
comes full circle. And although I wasn't there when Lily was born, I was with Jordan at that time. And now she gets to meet one of my greatest mentors, coming up here in the next couple months. So it's exciting. And we have many more grandchildren, grandson Jameson wants to go fishing in the Bahamas. Let's see. I think Piper wants to go to Paris. That's what she said. Grandson wants to go to SoFi Stadium and Allegiant Stadium, watch professional football games. So that's next year's trip. And I get goosebumps thinking about this because I had this dream 10 years ago that I could do this with my grandchildren. And now it's a reality, and we're doing it, and we're experiencing life, and we're having these moments with them. And I think it's inspiring other grandparents that I talk to that have little kids say, wow, that sounds cool. Can I be, they're all like, will you be my grandma? Because it's really fun. And so think, dream, and be around people that allow you to elevate your thoughts, to elevate your dreams that you have in your life.
That's wonderful. Everything you said is wonderful. Most people won't do it. So it's you live a beach money life. Jordan does. We know so many people that do because we spend time. I do. I mean, I quit my corporate job when I was 36 years old. My wife was pregnant with our second child, and I came home and she was holding my 2-year-old son. She was pregnant with our daughter, and I told her I wanted to quit my corporate job, a big job, to start my entrepreneurial dream. These are things that most people won't do or can't, and they often end up falling into these things by default. For instance, I was laid off, so I ended up getting into real estate or something else. And I give you a lot of credit because you've made transitions through your life, and you're very, very secure with who you are and what you do, and you could almost handle anything now because of what you've gone through. You were talking about, if you're 40, 50, 60 years old, start planning retirement. I want to know why people don't start when they're 20. And my story is I knew I was going to get old because I saw my grandparents and my parents getting old. I knew I wouldn't be working forever, and I knew I wanted freedom. So we started saving for our kids' college the day they were born. So these vehicles are, but a lot of people don't. They don't save. They don't think they're going to die or get old until they're old, if they live that long. And so I'd like to tell everybody, don't wait until you're 40 or 50. I would start considering day one what your life's going to look like at 50 or 60. And why wait to 70 or 80 to retire? Why not have the flexibility? I mean, look at Gail. She's in her 60s, living her dream, traveling the world with her grandchildren, and she can do anything she wants. And there are people Gail's age who are still having to work just to pay rent.
Yeah.
And so I would like to say, grow up when you're like, if you can. And I don't think most people are like that. My son, he's 23 years old. He's in finance, and he's extremely pragmatic. He's extremely conservative, and he'll probably, by the time he's my age, be worth many millions of dollars because he just put it into things that grew. We can't control ourselves. We want to eat. We want to drink. We want to do drugs. We want to play. We want to buy the car, the boat, the plane, whatever. And we can't control ourselves. I believe it takes discipline. Do you agree?
Yes, very much so. Discipline and consistency. In that respect, I'll use my health as a measurement for that, because about 6 years ago, I was 60 pounds heavier, and I was really out of shape, and I was entering into these glorious years, and my health suffered, and I didn't feel great. And so I I made a commitment, and I was disciplined enough to stick with that. I called my other mentor, Steve, called it being a promise keeper. And I became a promise keeper to myself. I made a promise that I was going to live a healthy lifestyle, that I was going to eat right. I was going to drink more water. I was going to get more rest and get the exercise that I was so sedentary. It wasn't even, it was like, I can remember having one of those watches, and at the end of a day, it would say 1,800 steps. I've been sitting behind a computer screen all day. I was really successful and great at my job, but I sucked at taking care of myself. And so again, it's who you spend time with. Who are you spending time with? I just, I wrote a chapter in the Momentum Makers book, and it was called Success is Not Pursued. Success is attracted by Success is attracted, and I add, by who you become. And, being unhealthy is hard on us, but so is becoming healthy is hard. You hear all the time, choose your hard, choose your hard.
Yes.
Well, for the past 6 years, I've been working on health. And over the last, I'd say 6 to 9 months, I've let myself slip back into habits. And but I'm talking to myself every day that I slip back into a habit that's not serving me. And I've been beating myself up. And just in the last, I don't know, I'm going to say really the last 48 hours that I have just said enough is enough. And I've had these feelings before. And I know that there's other people out there that have these feelings. They say, oh, well, they fall off the wagon, and then they say, well, never mind. I can't do it. I'm never good enough. I'm not good. But I'm telling you, discipline, commitment, and consistency, and find those characteristics and own those characteristics for yourself to get off the couch. I've stayed very active in my life, and exercisingly wise, but nutritionally, I have just said, never mind. I'm just going to do what I want. I'm getting back to that old bratty little self, and it doesn't serve us. And so, yes, should you plan for your retirement in your 20s? I wish that people would learn more about that. Should you eat correctly or learn nutritional balance and be disciplined in your life, in your health, in your thoughts, in all the things that are going to move you forward, move that needle forward for you? It takes discipline, it takes commitment, and it takes consistent effort.
Yes, it does. Interesting. You kind of queued me up here. Um, I have to be, what's the word you just used? I have to be disciplined in writing this book that I want to write. So I wanted to write a book to my children, dedicated to them. And this is a children's book. Child meaning if you're somewhere between 18, 19, and 30. And it's called Do Over. And it's what this old guy would do over again with what I've learned: nutrition, sleep, exercise, relationships, financial. Now, my kids are in their early 20s, and I tell them all this stuff. And most of it's like, whatever, because that's a young person's attitude and mind. But if just one person in this world took anything out of that book, I said it would be a win. And when I was younger, I think I was a little more mature in some ways than most men, as far as financially and so forth. But I've come a long way in the past couple of years for making sure I get enough sleep. And I study this stuff. I study sleep. I study nutrition. I study exercise. I study glucose, insulin. I mean, everything. Everything that goes into me, I know what it's doing to my body at that time. It's like almost a disease as far as how much I've studied this. And what we have learned so much as humans through technology and science and just time. We compound, we're so much further in advance in everything from our cars to our communications to what we understand about the human body, which we still haven't totally figured out yet. And I'm really excited because every day I'm fine tuning what I hope is not a body that's too late. I think I'm okay. I made some mistakes when I was younger. I used to drink a fair amount. I don't drink much anymore, alcohol, because it's just not good. I never smoked, but that's horrible. And I try to eat well. And so I understand exactly what you're talking about. And you have to be really disciplined. For me, it's not that difficult. I eat asparagus, broccoli, blueberries, which isn't bad. Things like boiled chicken with no seasoning. I eat for fuel. I believe food is medication. I believe if you eat raw broccoli, it's not just something to satisfy your stomach, but actually something that's going to help your cells instead of eating something that could be toxic. So that's where I am.
Speaking toxic, because I don't know, when you have that fatigue, like just recently, my sciatica, I have pain in my back and my shoulders and my hips and my pains that show up. And I relayed that, Jim, to it's the food that we can choose to eat and the things that we choose to drink it's like poison.
Mm-hmm.
Like you go to the doctor and they say, oh, we're going to treat this symptom, but they don't get down to what's causing that pain. I had a frozen shoulder, and I remember this was probably 10 years ago. I couldn't move my arm, and I was with a functional doctor, and I said, Dr. O, do you think that if I stopped eating sugar that my shoulder would be better? And here's what he said. He said, Gail, absolutely it would be better, but most people aren't willing to do that.
I was going to say something. Sorry to cut you off, but so people want to know why doctors don't tell you how to remedy your ailment versus just diagnosing it and then writing a prescription for it. And I believe it's this. It's easier for the doctor to send you off to the drugstore, to the pharmacy to get it, because doctors aren't going to be able to convince the average person to do what's right. It's hard enough for that doctor to stay on course. And so, and I've heard from doctors, I've watched all kinds of podcasts where a doctor will be on the podcast and they say, in medical school, they do not teach us how to avoid this. They teach us after the accident has happened, how to fix the accident, but not to prevent the accident. Meaning that the accident is you were reckless throughout your life, eating things, smoking, drinking. And we all know that's bad. But when you go to the doctor, that's okay. They'll put you on blood pressure medicine, cholesterol medicine. They'll help your diabetes for this, this, and this. I heard something very interesting. Do you know what Ozempic is? The drug Ozempic? It's for weight loss.
I just watched a podcast yesterday.
Okay. So Ozempic, some people who are following Ozempic, who are in the medical world and so forth, some predictions are that within 20 years in our country, the United States of America, over 40% of Americans will be on that drug or one similar to it. That means some people who aren't alive today, someone's baby in the womb will be on it. How do we not prevent that? I find it nuts. I know you didn't come on the podcast for me to preach about it, but it's wild.
It's a real thing, and it's the epidemic. We as a society are making everybody can be who they want, do what they want, because that's who they are and that's what it's about. And it's not facing the fact that there are remedies that we can do for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And it's nutritionally based. I pause because I know it's going to hurt. People are going to go, whatever.
Of course, because they're weak. I hate to say it.
I've proved it to myself, and I'm proving it to myself again, because the energy that I'm going to find over the next 2 weeks, because I'm choosing to be disciplined, committed, and consistent in my nutritional values. When I'm in Disney World with my daughter and my granddaughter the first week of September, I am like, good luck for them keeping up with grandma.
Yeah.
That's what it's, and that's what it's about. I people, I desire people to feel healthy in not only their body, but in their minds. But I swear to you, if you feel healthy in your body, your mind will be healed as well.
There's no question. There's no question. And I'm very concerned for the citizens of this country. And it's not just us, it's UK, it's Canada, it's really the developed nations that have the problem. If you look at some civilizations that are what we would consider antiquated, behind the times, some tribes that are still at the tribal, some third world countries that live a simpler life. They don't have the stress. They don't have access to the foods. They still eat the roots and the fruits right off the tree. They're not in traffic. They don't have bosses breathing down their neck. Wall Street isn't wondering why the fourth quarter is not going to be as good as you said it was going to be, whatever it is. And these people aren't obese. They're not committing suicide. I mean, it's really wild when you step back and look at our society today and go back 100 or 200 years. Very short period of time on our timeline, not as a country, but certainly as civilized people, and certainly as humans. And all of a sudden, we're like, oh, it's in a box. We can eat it. I have a rule. If there's an ingredient list on my food, I try not to eat it. It's just a simple rule, which means I'm eating stuff on the exterior of the store, right? The outside of it, which are going to be the meats and the fruits, the vegetables, and the stuff that goes bad real quick. And I apologize. I didn't mean to get on my soapbox. But I will say this, Gail, thank you so much for joining me today here on the podcast. You are a wonderful person. You are, what I say, living your dream. And it looks as though you're helping other people, such as your grandchildren, live their dream.
Yeah, we're dreaming together. We're learning to dream together. And I'll close with this because, my daughter, when I was young, Steve and I were young and our kids were like 7, 8, and 10. And I'd say, oh, we're going to go to Disney World. And, then they get that to that age. And then I go, well, when we're 11, 12, and 14, we're going to go to Disney World. And well, the fact of the matter was we never went to Disney World with our children.
Mm.
And next in 2 weeks, I'll be in Disney World with my daughter and my granddaughter. I was invited to come along with them. Kendall's 11 and Andrea, she made a story and she said, she didn't blame me for not ever taking her to Disney World. She said, I'm so thrilled that I get to finally spend time in Disney World through the eyes of my daughter, Kendall. And, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Living life, being with family, feeling love, being loved, and giving love out in return.
Great perspective. And I'm very happy for you finding that. Many people at any point in their life don't find it. And it like kind of hit you at a point where like, oh, okay, this is a new chapter of my life. All right. Thank you so much, Gail. I really appreciate your time today. It's been awesome.
Thank you, Jim.